right. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. It is Wednesday, Hump Day. Thank you all for joining us for another exciting episode. So tonight we are going to talk about how to deal with how to deal with different love languages. That's right.
We check our sound before we get on started. Of course, do not want our sound to be off, and then after we did all this talking, we found out it ain't working.
Right.
How's it going?
No,
Is our mic's muted?
I think it's my phone.
You think so?
Yeah, it froze up. So
Are you on Wi-Fi?
No, I'm not. That's why.
Sneeze. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
Just want to one more time check our mics, make sure we're good. I see it talking. I think I gotta sneeze, but it won't come out.
If y'all can hear us, put a 1 up.
Put a 1 in the chat.
We'll put a 1 in the chat.
And our Instagram viewers, thank y'all for joining us. We see y'all. I know y'all can hear us good as we get on our YouTube up and going real quick, making sure that we're good to go. We are almost at 7,000 on Instagram. That's such a blessing. So excited for the support. No, we're at like 6,900 something. Okay. That's so cool though. That's such a blessing. And our YouTube is growing. So yeah, we sound good.
We're at like 6,900 something.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's without the Wi-Fi.
Okay. All right. Well, we're sounding good. But that is so cool, like we were saying, and our YouTube is growing and Facebook. So thank you all so much for your continuous support as we do this and grow and evolve over time. Y'all are getting in the beginning, which is so cool because you're going to really see the growth that we make.
Yep.
So thank you all.
Yep, and we're over 400 finally on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all.
Yes. So this question was actually came in. I don't know. Have we talked about love languages before? I think we've somewhat talked about it.
We talked about the categories and what they look like.
Really? We have? Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, that is cool because as a good refresher, because we talk about a lot of stuff, so sometimes I forget if we dive in deep. We got a new question though. That is looking for this information again. So probably a new subscriber, new follower, which is great because that gives us the opportunity to break this down in a different light. So we're going to pull this up really, really quick and let's dig on in. I wonder if I should zoom in a bit. Just a little bit. All right. So, subject. My man doesn't show love the way I like. I have been with my man for 3 years. We are both 26. He's a great guy, but he doesn't show me love in my love language. A lot of the time, I don't feel love or appreciate it, and I can't help it. When I have mentioned this to him, he says I'm being ridiculous because for him, everything in the relationship seems fine, and he feels like there is a lot of love. I feel like he doesn't understand. I have communicated this to him in the past in a conversation more than once. I have let him know how important these are to me and suggested ways in which he can start incorporating these into day-to-day life. These conversations were over the course of a year, and 1 year on, and still nothing had changed. My love language is word of affirmation and touch, and his is gift giving and acts of kindness. I tried to make him understand how important words of affirmation are to me. Receiving compliments means a lot to me, and not necessarily to do with appearance, but with anything. I also like to receive touch and be shown affection in that way. He just doesn't do these things. Is there something I can do to get him to understand this? I think this is a different. I don't think we've addressed it this way, but this is a different way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think?
What do you think first?
This is easy. Counseling. They need marriage counseling. How long have they been married? For 3 years?
Been dating for 3 years.
Oh, they're not even married.
Yeah, because she says my man.
Yeah,
she didn't say my husband.
They need counseling. And this is something that's so easy. This is something that they need someone to teach them and to force him to practice this stuff. And that will,
I don't even think you can force somebody to practice something. It's got to be like a willing.
in the counseling class. You all remember that episode of, I think it's Fresh Prince, when Will and Lisa went to marriage counseling
Yeah.
with George and Wheezy, and they had those bats that was
Yeah.
hitting each other
Yeah.
and stuff.
Right.
And then
yeah.
all of a sudden, they all started fighting each other. They teamed up and started fighting each other. They need that type of counseling to help him understand and practice that type of love language that she's looking for. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that. And that is exactly what they need. He's probably not sure about it, of what she's talking about, and nor does he care, to be honest with you. But the consequence of this is him losing her. So someone needs to tell him this and show him exactly what she means. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we both like to be appreciated in our relationship in the same way that we are looking for it. Is not a big stretch for that. And I had to learn this too as a man. It takes more than just providing and protecting somebody. It's a relationship goes beyond that. Your wife wants to feel appreciated. She wants to feel the touch of love and all this other stuff that comes with her. And if she's a good woman, of course, she deserves these things. So, and it takes a good man also too to recognize her love language and what she likes as well. Everyone likes to feel appreciated, and that's what she's asking for, is to be appreciated, words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Say that you're doing a good job, honey, you're beautiful, thank you, and all this other things. And then also to give her, hold her hand, rub on her, make her feel loved, hug her, kiss her. She likes touch. That's easy. I think she probably has by far the two easiest love languages that you could possibly have in a spouse. And he's not wanting to cater to that.
Right, which brings to me the question of, is this something that's viable is the word that comes to mind, but I don't know if that's the word exactly I want to use, because it's like, he's saying he's not complaining about the relationship, which is great, but she is, in the sense of she's saying she doesn't feel loved or appreciated a lot of the time within your relationship. And I understand the aspect of a person not exactly knowing, how to show a certain love language to somebody. But after a few conversations, if there hasn't been much effort into making some type of noticeable action to trying to give a person love in their way they're asking to be loved, it makes me wonder, is this something that is he just more so comfortable, or is this something where the relationship is reciprocal? If she's continuously doing these things and he's not, and this has been going on for 3 years and there hasn't been anything, then it just makes me wonder, like, is this something that he is genuinely even interested in doing? Because it's not something that you can force somebody to do, and particularly with love, that you want it to be willingly flowing from the person, in a way that they will want to do it. That way it's enjoyable to love the person, as well. That's you want, when it comes to a relationship, you want it to be done willingly, not something that you got to force. So then that way both participants are enjoying the interaction. A person that's forced to do something isn't so much going to be enjoying giving whatever it is you're offering, you're telling them to give, is what I'm saying. So this makes me wonder.
I think what's missing here is, how is the message being delivered to the man?
Yeah.
And often at times, to be honest with you, biologically, men don't. You have that selective hearing syndrome with men and women, in which women voices are less, and this goes with children too. Often at times, children don't listen to their mothers. You have to tell the child over and over again to do something, as opposed to the father. It's almost like them hearing thunder, or what have you, is that a man's voice is deeper, so it's like the voice of God is bestowed upon them and they listen. And in this case, this man may need a male person to tell him specifically that, hey, you need to do these things for your wife, or you risk losing your relationship. And I think that is what the case may be here, is the delivery of him, because he's not receiving the message and it's
Right.
not being taken in. And unfortunately, biologically, men, we often at times don't hear every word that the woman is trying to tell us, or the message that they try to convey us, unfortunately. And I think this has even been scientifically proven. But don't, mark my words, you can do your own research, but I think auditorily,
Yeah.
men's voice are more receptive than women voices are, naturally,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
um that is the reason why also too, like, women, when that whole thing, if you get into an argument with a woman as a man, they like to yell over you while you're just talking normal. So
Yeah.
that them trying to get their message and convey over you. So I think that's what the issue is here, and also too, he's being a little bit selfish about the relationship, and he's just not getting it. So his father she needs to talk to his father, ask him to come step in, and can you relay this message to your son, because he's not doing it, so that he can understand what love language is. I don't think he really understands it, and
Or maybe another marriage couple too.
right,
Anybody around
right,
them.
but more so a
yeah.
male that who's involved to talk to this young man, because
Mhm. Yeah.
he needs to get the message and understand that his wife is also wanting this type of affection, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's something that we as men need to learn too. Once we get into a relationship, is that we also need to speak to our wives the way that they are receiving information, receptive to the information. So
Right.
it's not a bad thing to actually want to, I guess, be more cooperative in this manner of communication, so that everyone is happy. Evidently, he's satisfied and she is not. Right. So that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Give her positive words of affirmation, tell her she's beautiful, you love her, things like that. And then, good job, keep going. We love, this is great. And give her hugs and kisses.
Yeah. Be willingly wanting to do that. Yeah.
Right.
And there are a few things that come to mind for me in particular when I'm thinking about a person that's having a problem receiving love that isn't necessarily in their love language. Because to be honest, this could also mean something else, like a little slightly more. Maybe he is showing it in a way that she's just not picking up on, sometimes. That's certainly one way to look at this. Of course, I'm trying to be objective and look at things from all different angles. So, looking at it from that angle as well, it's really, possible that maybe a person will not feel worthy of love. There may be some type of struggle with worthiness there, maybe low self-esteem, maybe having a hard time truly believing that someone else, loves you or is looking to give you love. We always talk about, how our society has a lot of trauma in it, and a lot of people have grown up in childhoods that they, unfortunately weren't able to receive love. So it can make it harder in their adult years for them to actually accept love, even when it's not being offered in their exact love language. It doesn't mean that a person isn't giving you love. It's just really about, whether or not you're going to be open to receiving it and being able to appreciate that. So it's certainly something to experience within your mind, trying to figure out if, hey, maybe there's some sort of unworthiness I'm dealing with here, maybe some self-esteem, really sitting back and analyzing. When a person, I guess in particular, doesn't express their love in a way that they do receive it, sometimes it can skew your judgment and have you think that, you're not being understood, or you're not being appreciated, or you're not being cared for. And certainly if he doesn't do these things often, it will just reaffirm in her mind, like, oh, am I not, why am I not getting these things? Why are you not doing these things? But overall, just that mindset and the thought within itself will build upon itself, and it can turn out that you might end up feeling isolated. You might feel lonely. You might have insecurities that you are actually projecting onto your relationship. So, this is still, again, why it's always important that when you're looking at the aspect of love languages, because if we're honest, this is a new concept. to be completely honest, this whole idea of love languages isn't something that's been around forever. It's still fairly new. For those who aren't aware, it was developed by a man named Gary Chapman. He was a Christian counselor, advisor, and stuff, and a book author. And he coined this whole idea of love languages. So before we dig more into that in particular, though, we have to really sit back and think, like, was this even, back then, did people even say, like, I'm not receiving love, like, in this way. So, they don't love me. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of that a new concept in my mind, to where it's like a person's like, oh, I'm incapable of receiving love if it's not in this way, And then that, to me, where it comes up, you got to question, is this actually something that you may be projecting on to your environment from something that's actually going on within? So, yeah.
Good point.
Just something to think about. Overall, though, is there anything else?
I mean, my thing is this: how important is love language? Though?
Right.
Because if you all are loving each other, then what constitutes love? What constitutes love in a relationship? Is it love language?
Well, I exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like those defined ways, like, oh, it has to be this way, and yeah, it just makes you wonder, like.
Because that means that you like you're saying there could be just,
you blocking out all other forms.
Yeah, or either you're having some sort of mental issue as well.
Well, yeah, insecurity. Yeah.
No, I mean it could be.
Like
autism or something like that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so if it has to be that certain way or whatever the case may, does it really have to be that certain way? Right. Are you that inflexible? You're not capable to receive love in any other way, like my wife is saying. Yeah. How important really is love language in your life?
Yeah.
Leave us a comment in the comment box, and let us know how important is it. Is it really important to you all? Because if someone is providing for you everything else except for love language, then are you willing to throw that relationship out because of that?
Right.
We don't always get what we want in life. That's the bottom line. So why would you risk getting rid of a relationship because someone's not buying you a gift or giving you positive affirmations and hand claps and every time? Because that's more so like a selfish thing. Come to think of it.
Yeah, it's more so. It seems more so within, like you're feeling like you're missing something, like or you're looking for something to miss, like, or point it out.
Or trying to be a victim.
Yeah, it could be. It's lots of different ways that you got to be objective when you're looking at problems when they come up within your relationship. It's really important to be objective. Excuse me, late night, because that just will really help you to overall look and see what's going on within my mind, what that's having this take place the way it is. Another thing to keep in mind is like negative experiences in the past. So for example, if you had been hurt or you've been rejected by someone else, especially if it's a fairly new relationship, sometimes you can be a little skeptical about whether or not someone is able to love you or giving you love just because they're not doing these things just how you like it. And so that can really just make it difficult to trust someone or, be in that healthy relationship as it flourished, because you can start becoming guarded, protected, protecting yourself, or just really just defensive, making it really hard for you to receive love. So it's just really important to take a look overall, that 360 look, and see what's going on. Because I'm not saying that you don't deserve to get love in those ways that you just really, really recognize it as, or can label it, identify it as. But it's also just important to paying attention to seeing if you are really opening yourself up to receiving love in all the forms that it comes in. Just like abundance doesn't just come in the form of money. Abundance comes in all sorts of things. So that in itself is what makes up that word of abundance, the different things that make it up. So same concept with love, the different ways of having love, giving love, showing love, all of that is what really makes up love per se. And it's not just having to be one certain way all the time.
Right.
So because some things can happen to where, say, okay, I'm just playing little, I'm reaching a bit here, but say, for example, you're in a relationship and words of affirmation is your thing, and you've been in this marriage for a long time, and just so happens your husband and wife can't speak anymore. Does that mean that they don't love you no more and you will never be able to receive love or have that relationship with them because they can't, they fell ill, had to have surgery, you know what I mean? Just something happened to where they can't talk. Does that mean that the relationship is over, that you will never receive that love? It just really, you got to be objective and really see, like, am I being too critical? Am I being too hard? Am I not opening myself up the way that I should be?
I just think it's hormones. She's just being hormonal. She only thinks about this once a month.
Oh God!
And how he never buy her Hershey Kisses and give her back massages and things like that. So that's all. Problem solved.
But these are just the things that you got to think about. And we are tonight certainly going to talk about some things that you can do if you are in a relationship and you have different love languages, right? Because if we're going to go by this whole idea of love language, this, new concept, then hey, if this is the case, everybody has a different love language. Everybody's different. So how do you go about merging this together?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, but the thing is, though, to be honest with you, I like all of the love languages.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly, yeah.
This is BS.
And to be honest, a healthy relationship is going to encompass all of these things. So again, it kind of takes me back to my first point of it. If you're not even getting these things anyway from your relationship in some form, then it makes you wonder, is this the right relationship for you? Have you been in this relationship for so long and just rejecting yourself, not allowing yourself to, be with the right person that is showing you love in all types of forms? Because love just doesn't show up in one way. So yeah, it's just really important. That's all I can think about in particular for this specific question. But, we can dig on into some things that they could do to figure out, hey, will this relationship work if you have different love languages or what? You want to close it or you want to, I'm going to close the question. Keep it up.
Yeah, go ahead and close it.
Okay. So let's dig on.
Yeah. So as always, this is a live call-in show. So if anybody in Instagram, YouTube, Facebook want to join in on this conversation, by all means, please do. We want to know what you're thinking. So you can submit a question, comment, join us live. Call in. I don't care. This is your platform as well. So, just be respectful and, and enjoy yourself. So,
yeah.
Thought I'd throw that out there. But ultimately, whether or not a relationship works with different love languages depend on the willingness of both spouses to communicate, learn, and compromise. If you are both willing to do these things, you can make your relationship work, regardless of your different love languages.
Yeah, and that's important to know. If you are willing to do those things. So if your man or woman is not willing, is not showing you any type of willingness, as we dig into these things in particular that need to be done in order to really establish this whole concept of love languages and what really makes you, ultimately, I think it's maybe coming down to the specifics of what makes you feel fulfilled, maybe in your relationship. How can you go about doing this and presenting this? But you got to make sure that your spouse is on board with this too. And certainly backing it up with the things, the actions, not just, saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna love you, and then don't do it. Yeah. So
here are 7 things that you can do in a relationship with different love languages. Number 1, of course, communicate about your love languages. The first step is to make a relationship work with different love languages is to communicate with your spouse about what makes you feel loved and appreciated, such as she did. So this can be done by taking the 5 love languages quiz together or simply talking about what each of you need from the relationship.
Yeah, the whole quiz thing is just a simple way of, if y'all don't know what love languages are, again, believe it or not, as much as this kind of is like an internet phenomenon thing where it's talked about, a lot of people don't, especially the older generation, they like, what? Like,
yeah, because I didn't until we started doing this show. What? And and then now today, does it matter?
Yeah, it makes you really wonder. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter, y'all. I don't know why y'all being so damn picky.
Right. But in general, just to go ahead.
I ain't mean to cut you off, but this just means that they ain't got nothing to do. They ain't got no kids. They ain't working hard enough.
They're young. Yeah.
Y'all just need to
Yeah,
occupy
yeah.
y'all time more, to be honest with
Yeah, this is that
Anyway.
that young love where you're picking with each other. I guess. I don't know.
She's
We
still
didn't really
26.
do this. Yeah. When I think back on our relationship, we didn't have this conversation of love languages like
Hormones.
that. Like
That's what I was saying. It's her hormones.
I don't know. We talked about, and again, that's why I say it maybe is just establishing how you like to be loved, if you like to be appreciated. That is one thing that we kind of talked about, but that was more so in the sense of when things came up, we were problem solving, like, okay, well, how could we do this better? Or what could we have done different? Or better yet, like, what would have liked me to do instead, and vice versa when it comes to, conflict resolution. That's really where a lot of this is helpful, I guess, per se, because then you're actually able to have those conversations of, how you're going to better work through life together, pretty much. So I don't know. That's kind of how we took it. But of course, if y'all want to be real specific and get into, the deep
Get into the weeds.
Yeah, 5 love languages like Gary Chapman coined. I think it's a great thing. I think it's cool. It's it's always nice to give things clarification. So I think that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that per se. So he identified the 5 love languages as the first one, of course, words of affirmation, like this young lady is asking for. This love language is about expressing love through words, both spoken and written, and compliments, words of encouragement, and verbal expressions of love. So that's really easy.
And then quality time. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're spending quality time together. This love language is about spending time with the person you love. So it includes activities that you do together, such as talking, going on dates, or simply being in each other's company.
Being in a relationship. That is what this is. That's what I think about. Like, your relationship needs all of this. And all the time you should be speaking life into your spouse. Like, that's not something that you should, just make it the set in stone only way that you receive love. All the time you guys should be encouraging each other. All the time you should be spending, quality time whenever you can,
That makes you wonder too, are they living together?
Yeah.
They've been together for 3 years.
Yeah, I think
or
that's what
whatnot.
it said. Yeah.
They're 26. So maybe it's something else
Maybe
is
I'll pull it
going
back up.
on. No, you don't have to pull it up. It's
Okay.
But
yeah.
maybe it's just something else that's going on. They may not be spending enough time together for her to hear the words of affirmation.
Right.
Things
right.
like that.
Yeah, and that helps you to really see, is this relationship offering me love and all the forms that love should show up in a relationship in general.
Yeah, but then acts of service. So this love language is about doing things for the person you love to show your love and show that you love them and you care for them. So it includes things like cooking dinner, doing the dishes, or running errands.
Yeah.
Acts of service.
Yep. And of course, physical touch. So this love language is all about expressing love through physical touch, hugging, holding hands, kissing, all the nice physical forms of affection. That's physical touch. That's also a great way to communicate,
Verbal.
Yeah, non-verbal communication. Right. Yep. And lastly, receiving gifts. We just wanted to run down this, and just in case, again, some of y'all didn't know, but this love language is all about, gift giving as a way to, showing appreciation, whether this is small gifts or your elaborate ones, mainly just about it being thoughtful and meaningful within the relationship. So all of that is like the primary love languages in which, I guess, Gary Chapman tried to say we receive love the most, or more easily in those different forms. But there's also the secondary forms of love languages, of course. But in general, to be honest, all of these things should be included into your relationship. It's really just, to me, all of this really is just defining what love looks like. And you should be doing all of these things. I don't really see, if you don't know what makes your spouse feel loved, and then it's going to certainly be hard for you guys to have and form that bond and connect with each other. So if you do all of these things, you're certainly to hit on, making your spouse feel like you love them. That's just it.
And then if you don't know, then you're probably not marriage fit. You're not paying attention to their wants, their needs, just not paying attention to them
or caring.
Right.
Right.
You're not being intentional.
Yeah.
You're not being serious about the relationship.
Right. And then again, that's what makes me wonder, because it wasn't ever anything that we had to just like, oh, you're not showing me love this way. Like it was reciprocal. It was easy. You wanted to show me love. I'm showing you love. Like it was just a flow to it. If your spouse is not giving you that natural reciprocated love, there's a deeper issue here. And it's not so much them understanding your love language. It's something else, and you just really gotta be willing to have that conversation. Those hard conversations. That's all a relationship is. You gotta have those conversations, those good ones, those bad ones. That's why we encourage you to be comfortable with your spouse, so that you can have those good conversations and those bad conversations. Because it's not always easy to talk about things, especially when you're not, happy or feeling fulfilled. But yeah.
So be willing to learn about your spouse's love language. Once you know your spouse's love language, make an effort to learn more about it. This can involve reading books or articles about love languages, or talking to your spouse about what it means to them to receive love in that way.
Yeah. If you don't, of course, make that effort, then your spouse will start to feel like this young lady. They may feel unloved or neglected within the relationship. So, making an effort and a priority, certainly, to do that.
Do men complain about love language?
No, no, and that's what that's what I say. I rarely hear that, and it makes me wonder. You said we talked about this before. I can't remember. Did we have a question on it? I can't remember.
I think we did, and then we did the same thing. We talked about ways that you can show love language, and then how the benefit of it, and then being, men being more receptive. Especially if you talk to them with touch and all that stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, how it can benefit your relationship. Yeah, right. yeah. But it just makes me wonder, like, is this really more so?
This is hormonal. And I'm going to keep picking on that because a lot of guys go through this. And it's a thing, being hormonal.
It could be, because I don't hear that. That is a valid point. We may have to look into that, because I don't really hear men complaining about love.
Do you all, men in the comments, or do you? I mean, if you're in a bad relationship, I think a man would be like, I'm complaining about all of these.
I ain't getting nothing, because they're not receiving love, right?
Well, there is no love in the relationship.
Right. Exactly.
I think that would be the only time a man is complaining, because he's trying to force a woman to love him.
Right. Do something. Do these things. Yeah.
Running the streets, and he's paying the bills, and he's like, she still ain't doing it. He's being hormonal. It is. So you need to stop doing that to yourself.
We have I think our audience is maybe 60% men too. So that's a very, very
so y'all men out there, throw a 1 in the chat if you're not receiving love language.
Or if you care about that. Or is this more so just the
give me a 2
thing?
if you don't care about love language. And women, give me a 3 if you're suffering from the lack of love language in your life. Because I want to know, how important really is love language? I mean, it's important to show acts of love in a relationship,
right? And that's really the thing,
right? Isn't a particular type of love language? I don't think so. Right. Because what if I'm only receptive to gift giving? Does that make me a gold digger?
Yeah, right.
No, it doesn't, because that's the way that I like to receive love.
Right.
That's BS.
Right.
That's BS.
Right.
Because that's what's going to happen after we watch this video. Some woman going to be like, look, honey, I only receive gifts as love language. And I love you dearly, but in order for me to receive love from you, you have to buy me things. Man, nah. That's and
you don't love me unless you do.
Right, exactly.
That's it's a bold statement to make. And that's my whole, when I always think, when I seen this question and I thought back on it, I said, man, it makes me wonder, are you just choosing not to be receptive to love in the other forms? Or by placing particular priority on those ways? And then also too, it makes me wonder, is this a connection to some type of trauma, whether in the past, whether through childhood, a relationship, whatever you can think of, just making, making sure to sit back and analyze, is this something deeper than what I'm making it out to be, you know? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Of course, let's pick back on into it how, you know, of course you can make this work with different love languages. You certainly have to be willing to show love in all different types of forms. So we talked about that, but then you also have to be patient and understanding to the whole thing of you're in a new relationship, especially if it's a new relationship. You're learning each other, you're having to overcome different challenges in life, you're going through different experiences in life. So it's really important to be objective, be patient, and be understanding onto the overall picture and your relationship in general. If this is really something that, you know, is make or break, you know, is your relationship like done because of this? Are you giving up too soon? Are you, you know, just not open to receiving love in different ways? Like, it's just really important though that you're able to be patient with your relationship if this is something that you are both committed to. Huge discretion with this, because when we talk about this whole 3-year relationship that this young lady has had, you know, and saying that you're not happy in a 3-year relationship as a 26-year-old woman, that is a long time to be with a man who is not making you happy. And that's why, again, it makes me wonder, is there some type of unworthiness issue here? Is there some trauma connected to it here? Because to be honest, I'm not a fan of the long-term relationships with no set goals, with no, you know, a progress, the stagnicity. It's not healthy, and it makes me wonder again what's really going on here. So got to be objective and look at things all around.
Yep. And be willing to compromise.
Yeah.
So there will be times when you don't feel like expressing love to your spouse's love language, but it is important to them. So be willing to compromise and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
To show love, you know.
Yeah, I was supposed to say that. Yeah, that's really ultimately, and because again, like we said, if your spouse isn't able to do this all the time, does that mean that they don't love you just
No.
because they're doing that, you know? And yeah, gotta really be, you know, understanding that and be willing to compromise on that. Like, not saying that you have to just not get what you want. And no way, certainly am I saying that, because like I said, 3 years in a relationship of not getting what you want, something's wrong. You got it. Now you really have to take things into your own hands. But it just really, you have to be objective to if your spouse is even willing to do these things, because that will let you know, hey, this probably ain't the relationship for me if this guy isn't even willing to love me in a way that I'm just asking to be loved a little bit more. Like, you know, yeah. Well, that's the main point. I think our last point, of course, is to not give up per se if this relationship is something that you want to work through. I think taking the time to understanding the different challenges that may come your way in your relationship and being able to give your relationship a chance by opening yourself up to receiving love in all different types of forms, not just one specific way, because you cannot expect your spouse to change and just do these things just because you tell them to. We always say, don't marry a spouse that, you know, isn't who you like, just like they are right there today. No changing, nothing, just them, because that's an unfair relationship. That's saying if they don't go and do yada yada yada, then hey, later on they're not going to meet your expectations. That's not fair. That's not love. That to me is not love. Certainly not if you're open, if you're wanting to receive love in a way that's unconditional as well. You can't put conditions on the love that, you know, you want. So yeah.
Isn't that, but this is putting conditions to love.
Yeah.
Love language. So we broke the myth of love language and somebody wanting to receive love all the time in one way. That's what we did tonight. So seek professional help if needed. If you and your spouses are if you and your spouse are struggling to make your relationship work with these different type of love languages, you may want to seek professional help. So like I was saying before, so a therapist can help you and your spouse communicate better, understand each other's love language, and develop strategies for making your relationship work. Because
married
often at
couple.
times, like we just talked about today, it may actually be you. If you're griping and complaining about the love language you're not receiving it in a particular way, it may be you. So the therapist will be able to help you with those things and address those things and give you a coping mechanism, and hopefully in ways that you can do this and overcome this in a healthy manner.
Or
So,
it could be your spouse and they're just not the one for you. And you just need that third
well,
party to
yeah,
help you see it.
that means you're just not receiving love at all,
Right.
you know.
And
But
then
I
that's
don't,
something you can't,
how many of you all are out there in a relationship where you're not receiving love at all? Because there's
Right.
a level of accountability in that as well. So you have to own
Right.
that and take accountability if you're not using your good, better consciousness and decision making to get out of a bad relationship.
Right.
So, you can't save yourself from yourself at times. You really need someone's help in order for them to address that with you, in order for you to create a plan in order to get out of a bad relationship. But
Yeah.
luckily here we're talking about a way that you all love each other. So like I said, seek help if you're struggling to try to figure out and express this and communicate this with your spouse.
Yeah. A married couple like us, my husband says we've done these videos before. We've done so many videos. I think we got like over 300 videos on relationship stuff. So we got a little archive. Y'all can go back through and maybe check out some ways of communicating, really seeing if we even had videos on like dealing with unworthiness of love, or if you have a feeling of unworthiness in love or something like that, maybe looking at those videos and seeing maybe does some of that resonate with you, or even still discernment, being able to know what a good spouse looks like, what it takes for a spouse to actually step up and really show you that, hey, they love you and they care about you in all different types of forms. So knowledge, of course, is power. So going through the archives, talking to somebody, connecting with other couples, other married couples, chime in the comments as well. Let us know, like, hey, is this a big thing for y'all in your relationship? We're just one relationship, not, we may not press lots of value on this, but again, like I said, that wasn't a big thing when we were young in our love, so I don't know, it looks a little different for us, but maybe another married couple could relate in a little bit sense of able to shed some light on some things that work for them. So certainly this is a platform for that. We love the conversation, so don't be shy, talk back.
Yeah. So do anyone have any questions, concerns, conundrums, gripes, complaints, problems? Because speak now, forever hold your peace.
Yeah, hold on, let me flip to Instagram. Peace, thank you all for joining us. This was a good show overall. New one, another way of looking at it. I'm excited for tomorrow's topic. Thursday, we're going to surprise y'all with that one. So be sure to tune on in with us.
Yep, at same time, same place, Blueprint family. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And you all have a wonderful night. Good night. Peace.